So let's see if we can get you out there before all this packs up with cars.
Yeah.
Generally, around 3 o'clock, this starts to turn into a parking lot, but we'll see if we can get you on at least a short ride here and see what you think.
All right.
Set on there. And stand this up.
Ooh, that's an interesting seat.
Okay, so...
Good Lord, that is rock hard.
Okay, take that up. There you go. Now, one of the things I want to warn you about is the bike is heavy, front heavy.
Okay.
So when you get going slow and like in the parking lot and everything, don't be afraid to put your foot down because it is heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, up in the front. All right, now you've got everything on here. Your mirror's good?
A lot of arm in that.
Because I know I bumped that mirror, so there we go.
It's always hard to tell in a parking lot, but should be roughly good.
Okay. Very good. Now, go ahead and pull that brake in and hit the starter thing there. And then what you'll see is the word go.
Okay.
That means it's ready to go, and now the throttle is active.
Okay.
So it's not like a motorcycle where you can sit here with a brake on and go like that.
Yeah.
It'll take off on you.
Yeah.
Okay? One thing is like when you're going over to here where the arrow is, you'll kind of feel it as you're rolling along. Now the other is, it isn't completely quiet. The motor does make a whining sound.
Yeah.
So you will hear it while you're riding.
Yeah.
Okay?
Cool.
So take it for a couple loops around the triangle, and when you bring it back, just park it over there.
Sure.
All right?
Hello everyone, my name is Nicoya, and this is my sort of first ride, twice around the blocks impression of the Energica Eva, the electric bike. It's a, we'll call it a super naked, I guess. It is, I have to say, an entirely pleasant bike to ride. It's got decent brakes, it's got decent acceleration, it's got, you know, decent fit and finish. The seat is a bit weird, I mentioned that at the beginning. The padding on it is fairly thin, and I think it collapses fairly easily. It's not stiff enough in the padding, and that makes the seat really quite hard. And the seat is also sloped forward at an odd angle. I don't know if that's, you know, peculiar to this bike or if it's more common on bikes of this nature. I haven't ridden a lot of super nakeds. I'm more like a sport bike, sport touring bike kind of guy. Anyways, so the bike is nice, and I think that's kind of his downfall because, I mean, not saying the bike is a downfall. The bike, how do I say this? It's not a Tesla. I got on this bike and I was expecting, you know, Elon Musk set that bar really high for what people expect electric vehicles to be. You know, you get into a Model S and you know you flip it into insane mode, ludicrous mode, plaid mode, whatever it is, and you step on the accelerator and your neck snaps back, and you know you're pinned to your seat and you're taking off in freaking warp speed, right? This bike doesn't do that. It has a nice amount of power. I'm actually going to do a pull up here in a second. It has a nice amount of power. There you go. Just ignore the numbers on the speedometer there. I promise you it's perfectly legal speeds. But it isn't like a mind-blowing amount of power. Like if you rode this back to back with a Super Duke, S1000R, Tuono, MT10, any of those bikes, this would be, you know, a nice bike, but I don't think it would have quite the level of insanity of those other bikes that they have. Now that said, it still has plenty of power. It'll get you around just fine. The problem comes into is you know, the other thing that Tesla did was that they got this, you know, insane vehicle, and they put it out at a price point which is really, really kind of crazy. I mean, compared to what, you know, the amount of performance you get for the amount of dollars you spend. You know, nothing else compares to a Tesla right now. Like, you can go to Ferrari, you can go to Porsche, you can go to Lamborghini, you can spend like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars more on a, you know, top-end Mercedes or something like that, and you won't get the amount of performance that a Tesla delivers. This bike is unfortunately the other way around. It is a $25,000 base price. You can easily option it up to like $35,000 and beyond, and that's a lot to pay for a bike, especially a bike with, you know, good but not mind-blowing performance. So, you know, if you're the kind of person who's like, I love electric vehicles, I want everything to be electric, I want to, you know, never visit another gas station for the rest of my life, then yeah, this bike is totally your bike. On the other hand, if you're waiting for a bike to convince you to make the switch from gasoline powered to electric, I mean, if price is any sort of factor in your consideration, this is not going to be the bike for you. Because you look at this bike and you say, you know what, for the price of this bike optioned up, I could get, you know, a base model MT10 and a base model KTM Super Duke R. I mean, I'd rather have those two bikes in my garage. I hate to say it. As nice as this bike is, you know, they're just, it's hard to say no to two bikes that are like amazing top class bikes in exchange for one bike, which is a nice bike, but not completely insane, I guess. So yeah, so good suspension, good brakes, good fit and finish. Long-term quality obviously is still to be seen, but you know, there's not much to go wrong with it. There's just the motor, the batteries, and a little big gear train, which is what I think is responsible for the whirring, whining noise that it makes. Not a big deal, but it's certainly not completely silent. I will say something which I forgot that I was about to say. I mentioned the seat. The seat's a little weird. Top heavy, yes, very top heavy. As mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you are just sort of pushing it around a parking lot, you're going to feel that. When it's up and running, just like any other motorcycle, you know, you can get on to like 1,000-pound Goldwing and, oh yeah, it feels heavy in the parking lot. As soon as it gets going, that weight disappears. Same thing here, pretty much. You will, there are bikes out there which feel lighter when they're running around, and this one isn't it. But you know, it's nothing that you're going to freak out about. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this, and I'm going to let the video roll out, and I'll see you guys next time.
There, dude. It's not half bad.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of like there's no gears.